But within this illusory world, there seem to be rules, and within the illusory
Well,
world,
but
mind is collapsing and dissolving all over the
why
place. It just
should there
doesn't seem
not?
to.
Why should there not be rules, Clarence?
Well,
For
because
instance, your
my
own mind, your own finite mind,
exactly, I believe
it. Hold on a minute, Clarence. Your own finite mind is repetitive. You have repetitive thoughts every day, whatever they are. You worry about your health, or you're concerned about. Each of us has a certain repertoire of thoughts or feelings, so we are familiar with the fact that our individual mind has habits, appears in the same way over and over and over again. That this is familiar to us. If that's the case of our individual minds, why would it not be possible for the activity of consciousness also to unfold in habitual ways? When viewed from a second person perspective, those habitual mental habits of consciousness would appear as the laws of nature.
no, it makes sense for me that there would be rules, but for example, when you're in deep sleep, my understanding is the mind dissolves and time dissolves. But does space and the world dissolve?
It's not that the world dissolves, because remember, the world is not. There is no such a thing as the world as it is normally conceived. From this perspective, the world is the activity of consciousness. That activity of consciousness appears as the world that we know when it is perceived through the lens of perception. When the act of perception dissolves, for instance in deep sleep, the world loses its appearance, but its reality remains.
So in that situation, time dissolves, but space doesn't?
No, time and space, we normally think that time and space are intrinsic properties of the world in itself, the reality of the world, before it is perceived or conceived by a finite mind. I would suggest that time and space are part of what the mind perceives, part of what the mind adds to reality. They are not out there in reality. It is the limitation. It's the limitations of the finite mind that make reality look like time and space. But time and space belong to the filter of our finite mind.
Yeah, I can see that. But so basically, mind or time and space, they're connected in some way, but they're basically like spectacles, not orange tinted sunglasses, but like prescription spectacles.
Prescription spectacles, you look through one, you experience time, you look through the other, you experience space. But the time and space are, they are, it's really, the spectacles are the activity of thinking and perceiving. If you look through thinking, infinite consciousness appears as time. If you look at infinite consciousness, or rather, if infinite consciousness looks at itself through perception, it appears to itself as space. Because the glasses of the finite mind, by definition, must impose a limitation on infinite consciousness. Therefore, time and space are the first forms of the appearance of infinite consciousness, and they are then later populated with events and objects. So in a way, time and space are the purest appearances of infinite consciousness when it is perceived through the finite mind. And they have...
But you said they're the spectacles of the mind, but it's really just spectacles. Like there isn't
you know what I mean when I say the spectacles of the mind. The mind is the spectacles.
It's just spectacle.
It's just a no, but that's what I mean. The spectacles of the mind. I mean, just the activity of thinking and perceiving. It's not that the mind wears the spectacles. The mind is the spectacles.
But the idea of mind existing after the body dies.
But you see, when you ask that question, you're going back. When you ask that question, you're relapsing to an old materialistic model. Does the body last? Does the mind continue after the body exists? This question presupposes that there is a physical body in which there is a mind, and then the question arises, when the body dies, does the mind continue? But this is an old materialistic model. There's no question of the mind existing when the body dies, because the body is an appearance of that mind.
That makes sense, Rupert, or as much sense as it can to a finite mind. I just wanted to not understand it a bit better, and you seem to not understand these things very, very well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen.